You're listening to Don't Tell Me to Relax, the award-winning, no-nonsense, always friendly, down-to-earth fertility podcast. I'm Hannah, a fertility acupuncturist and big believer that fertility care and education should be better. Each week, I sit down with a guest to share real stories, advice, and honest conversations to help you feel better informed. And for care and connection, we have our Don't Tell Me to Relax online fertility community and our clinics in London and across the UK. To find out more about getting involved and working with us, the details are in the show notes. Don't Tell Me to Relax is proudly sponsored by the lovely people at Acupips. Acupips is the original ear seed company founded by acupuncturist Zoe Young. Ear seeds are tiny seeds or metal beads attached to an adhesive and placed on pressure points in the ear. They're brilliant for calming the mind, easing anxiety, and restoring balance. We use them in our clinics all the time. Head to acupips.com to find out more and use the code RELAX for 20% off. Hello, and welcome back to the new series of the award-winning Don't Tell Me to Relax fertility podcast. I think we're on series 4, series 5, Katie? I've lost count.
I have no idea.
Anyway, it's a new series. It's me back in the hot seat with lovely, lovely Katie, and we are here today to talk about the general topic that we get asked about all the time, about how you can improve your fertility. Big question. We're going to unpick it a little bit and hopefully it's helpful. But before we get stuck into that, hello, Katie. It feels like a long time since we've sat down and done this together.
Yeah, it feels like forever. It's lovely being back. I love doing this.
How have you been? I know summer's not over yet, but how has your summer been so far?
It's been great, and I've still got like fun stuff going on. I went to Latitude Festival with some like friends that we all used to go to Reading Festival, but they've got little kids now, so it's a very different affair, but it was really fun. And had a hen do, and then I've still got the wedding, which is in Italy, so we go to that in a couple of weeks. So yeah, like it's really fun.
Good. And are you busy at work? Are you quiet at work? What happens over the summer?
Really unexpectedly, August has been quite busy, which, yeah, historically it's dead, and I normally end up taking time off in August, but because this wedding's at the start of September, I'm not taking my like proper summer holiday till then. And I was a bit apprehensive, but it's been really busy. It's been great. So yeah, how's your summer been?
It has been really good because, well, the best thing that happened to me this summer is that I went to the Oasis concert. And I don't want to go on about it because I know...
Go on.
No, I don't want to talk about it, Katie. But I am going to say it was possibly the best night of my life. And I actually got post-Oasis depression. No, not depression. That's too much of an exaggerated word. But I felt quite down afterwards because it really was. The blues, that's the right word, because it really, really, really was that good. But anyway, I've been on holiday. It's been a great year so far, and I'm ready and raring to go for the autumn season. And just while we're talking about going forward, I'm just going to flag there will be an advert because I'm going to create an advert as well. But we've got a brand new event coming up for everybody across the UK this time. We are doing the Big Fertility Walk and Talk, which is starting on the 11th of October, and it will be running for 9 days. And myself and all the affiliates across the UK are going to be doing a walk. So it's an opportunity to meet up in real life with one of the team and whoever else is in your local neighbourhood to get together and have a walk and have a talk and make a connection, because the main thing that we hear from our community is that people feel quite isolated when they're trying to conceive. They feel like they are on their own. So we thought it was a really good opportunity to try and bring people together in real life in as many areas as we possibly can. So if that is of interest to you, all the details are going to be on the show notes, and we're going to be talking about it a lot over the next coming weeks. And in between the 2 weekends of walk and talks, we're going to have 5 nights of fertility education. So we're going to be doing the Teaching to Conceive course as part of the Big Fertility Walk and Talk, which is all about fertility education, which again, we know is a big topic and a big area of confusion. So each night we're going to have a different one of our experts. Katie is doing one on fertility awareness. I'll be doing one on menstrual cycles. I think we've got Morven talking about testing, we've got Kirsty on nutrition, and we've got lovely Carly talking about emotional health. So we're covering all the foundations for your fertility in the aim to be helpful, empowering, and fill you with information so you feel like you can make good decisions about what to do next. So that is all coming up. But before we get into that, today we're going to be talking about how can I improve my fertility, which is a massive question. It is one of the most Googled questions on fertility, according to that there Google. And we are going to be picking some of the big areas, all of the areas that we're going to be choosing. I know there's a million and one 3 steps to improve your fertility programs out there, and all these do this, do that, and everything will work. But we think that that is a little bit reductive. And actually, what we see when we work with our fertility patients is that fertility is complex, and making improvements is about small, everyday, actionable things that you can do that add up together to improve your overall health. So we really like to not separate health and fertility. We like to put them together because they are part of the same thing. So when we're talking about improving fertility, really we're looking at health, which then has that knock-on effect to your fertility. So we're going to go through the big hitters that we think are areas where we can make improvements. So Katie, you're going to start with the topic you love so much, your area of expertise, tracking your cycle. So how can tracking your cycle improve your fertility?
It just helps you to understand exactly what's going on, and I'm really talking of tracking beyond just putting when your period starts in an app. So understanding what things you need to be looking out for, and we've done like whole episodes specifically on this, but yeah, knowing what you need to be looking for and like when you're fertile, when you're not. So I'm really talking about, well, yeah, when does your period start? How long are you bleeding for? Are you seeing cervical mucus? How long are you seeing that for? Maybe thinking about doing basal body temperature, and then also just tracking like your symptoms throughout your cycle, because these all give you so many clues and indicators as to what is going on with your fertility. Um, I like did a, you can do those question box things on Instagram. Like I did that recently, and someone was like, "What if like your um mucus, like BBT is fine and your cycle's spot on, but like your mucus is non-existent, like that's okay, isn't it?" And it's like, oh, like not, that wasn't quite the question, but it's like, actually no, that's a really big indicator that maybe your estrogen isn't quite doing what we want it to do, or there's an issue with the cervix, or maybe you've recently come off hormonal birth control, and like that can be a really normal thing. But if you're just not seeing it as in like a normal thing, if you've just come off contraception, but if you're not seeing it at all and there's like no clear reason, then that's like a good thing to start looking into. So it's just that kind of idea of having a report card that it tells you what's going on. You just need to know what to look out for. So that's why I'm a really big fan of tracking, is that it gives you data and information as to what to do for your next step. And often that will then be doing the things that we're going to talk about, of those really nailing the basics down, because they make like such a huge difference. Like that's your foundation to build from. So yeah, tracking is all about information, and then like arming with you like what to do next. So that's like where I think it's incredibly helpful, just to know what to look out for, really.
And when we talk about tracking, what are your, because there's so many different ways, and I know
Mm.
we've done episodes on femtech and OPKs and all of those things, but what are your preferred methods, or do you think it's a really personal approach,
Oh,
like a personal
yeah.
like
So
or
yeah, it's a
dislike?
really good question. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my preferences, and my preferences are also definitely based off of the confusion that I see coming up with clients. So my preference would be to look at mucus, look at basal body temperature, and like just overall tracking your cycle over a few months to like observe patterns and things. Now I know for some people like that's not how they want to do it. They'd much rather use like some sort of femtech or hormone test strips. And I think there's a time and a place for those. There's definitely some clients that I do recommend that for, but I'd say for the vast majority of people, you don't necessarily need all of that. One, because it, especially like the devices that then like give you a lot of information that's kind of like, well, what do you do with that if you haven't been taught how to interpret it? So if you're working with someone, great, but there's some tracking devices that I've definitely seen people just actually feel more confused by.
Mm.
Um, and also just from a financial perspective, like you don't need to be spending loads of money every single month on tracking. Like, I mean, I totally appreciate I have a course that I sell that teaches you how to track, but like that's then like a lifetime of information. And I don't think it's not necessary for everyone to be spending money on like strips and testing every single month.
Yeah. And it you just is just hit me then that sometimes I tell people, or I suggest, not tell, because we never tell anyone what to do. I suggest to people that actually they might want to stop tracking,
Yeah. Hmm.
because especially if someone's got a good understanding of their fertility, their cycle's regular, there are clear signs of ovulation, they get cervical mucus. Sometimes I said it recently to a lovely lady that I was working with, because I felt like the tracking wasn't giving her anything other than
Hmm.
a daily stress, in
Yeah.
that she was doing BBT charting, ovulation predictor kits. And I felt like this is actually stressing you out. So
Hmm.
it really is personal, isn't it? Like, I feel like if you track your cycle to understand it, track your cycle to get that knowledge, but sometimes you might want to have a break from tracking your cycle because it can become really provoking of stress.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's been interesting. There's definitely been some clients that I've worked with specifically to learn fertility awareness. And we just go, just drop it for a month, drop
Yeah.
it for 2, 3 months. Like, because especially if you have, once you get that really solid understanding of your cycle, you don't necessarily need to be tracking it in such depth every single day because you're going to have that awareness of kind of how things are shifting and changing. But yeah, there's definitely a time and a place to go. Like, if this is actually, rather than making you feel empowered and informed, it's actually making you feel like really stressed and anxious, then there's definitely a time and a place to put it down. And I'm actually a really big advocate for that because it's stressful enough trying to
Yeah.
conceive. And if you're finding it hard, and if that's adding an extra layer of stress, it's not, it's all, I do think tracking is helpful. But once you've got that kind of base understanding, if it's then like just absolutely freaking you out, then like there's a time and a place to put it down for a few cycles. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I guess you will know that that's a very personal decision, isn't it? And I guess
Yeah.
it's
About
it's an
knowing
in,
yourself.
yeah, it's a real kind of, is this help, am I getting any more information from this?
Yeah.
Is it helping me to understand? So I guess if your cycle is irregular or you're worried about it, then obviously
Mm.
then it is empowering. But if it, like we say, if it's healthy and it's working well and nothing is changing in it, and you find that it's triggering a stress response every time you're trying to check in with an ovulation predictor kit or what your app or whatever it is,
Yeah.
then it might be time to give it a break. It's not forever. Just give it a break and see how it goes for that cycle.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's time and place for everything. And yeah, putting it down is sometimes the best thing you can do. So, Hannah, next we were going to talk about sleep, one of those really important foundational things. So, what are your kind of top things about sleep in regards to fertility?
Yeah, it's a good question. And having read a book on holiday, I am obviously now a sleep expert. What I've realized actually from reading the book is that sleep is important for every single function in the whole of your body, not just your fertility. So it actually affects pretty much every single decision that you then make the following day, whether you've had a good night's sleep or not. And the depth and the importance of sleep was what really surprised me about reading that book. So what I really thought about and what I think is really important is to make a really good assessment about how you sleep, because statistically, according to the book, I think it's about 60% of people do not get enough sleep. That's in the mostly talking about the States, but I think it applies to the UK as well.
I can
And
completely believe that.
yeah, and so it's about making an honest assessment. And I was doing this when I was on holiday because I was thinking, if you asked me, I would tell you that I sleep well because I love sleep. I do prioritize it. I'm pretty good at making it an important part of my life. But I also know that I wake up in the morning and I do need to have a coffee to get myself going. And so, and he talked about the reasons why you do that. And some of it is habit, but some of it is that your body needs that shot of adrenaline and cortisol and caffeine to wake up, which suggests that actually you haven't had enough sleep, or that you've got a creeping up of long time sleep deficiency, which has led to you being tired in the morning. So that really did resonate with me, that I'm going to see what would happen if I didn't have my coffee and how I would actually fare. So that is a job for me to do. So the other thing that he talks about is this idea about going to sleep at a regular time every morning and getting up at a regular time every morning, about sleeping in a cool room. So your body temperature needs to drop to enable you to fall asleep. So creating a cooler environment in your bedroom, having the windows open, not wrapping yourself up so much. I mean, not easy at the moment, but when it moves into winter, is a really good way of helping your body know that it's time to sleep. And the really big thing, which I am going to do from today, I was supposed to be yesterday, but I was my first day back at work, is about trying to switch off your phone at 8 o'clock, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and not be stimulating that part of your brain so that your body can make enough melatonin, because that's what you need. It's the melatonin hormone that your body starts to create from about 7 p.m. that you need to help you fall asleep and signal to your body to fall asleep and to help you stay asleep. So I'm really going to prioritize turning my phone off at 8 o'clock, or putting it on some setting so you just get text messages so you're not tempted to scroll, because we really do. I put myself in here, scroll a lot at night, and with that exposure to bright lights and all of the things that we do, watching TV and doing the big shop at the same time on the laptop, all of these things that we do in the evening are stimulating our brain when our brains need to be calming down to enable us to get a good night's sleep. So really having an honest assessment about what your sleep habits are like, first of all, and thinking about sleeping later or going to bed earlier, but making sure that you're doing it at the same time every day is important. And also thinking about what I thought was really helpful, and actually something that I do quite a lot, is like catching up on sleep at the weekend. So having a nap in the afternoon on a Saturday or a Sunday, really allowing your body some extra time to rest, is a really, really helpful thing. And your hormones and your fertility will thank you for it. And I would say just take an honest assessment. There's no judgment. We all do it, but really do have a good look at how your sleep habits are and how you genuinely feel in the morning, will really help give you an assessment of, are you getting enough sleep and are you prioritizing? Because the thing about sleep, as we've said before, is it's free, and it can make a huge, huge difference to both egg quality, hormone balance, sperm health, stress levels, all of those things. You make better food choices, you have better energy, you're more likely to exercise. All of these small actions, and that's what I talked about at the beginning, these micro, small daily actions that you put them together have a big impact on your overall health. It's just, we live in a society that makes us not want to sleep. The 24-hour
Mhm.
bright light, LED, 24-hour internet, all of these things really do go against what our bodies want to be doing. So
Mm.
thinking about it and trying to make a plan and make some small changes could be really, really helpful for your fertility.
I had a nap on Sunday that I woke up from, and I felt like I didn't know what year it was. Like, I'd been asleep for so long, it was ridiculous. But, when you're saying about making, like, an honest assessment of what your sleep's like, what do you think of, like, all the likes of the Apple Watch or, like,
Yeah,
Whoop or whatever?
yeah.
Like, how
I think,
yeah,
I
what are
mean,
you
yeah, it's a complicated one, isn't it? Because
Mm,
I think they probably can help you a bit more, because they will
yeah.
show you, don't they? They literally show you
Mm,
the amount of deep sleep you've got. Um, and so I guess it enables you to make a better assessment of your sleep. I've never really used them because I just think they would stress me out too much. And
yeah,
I'd
I
be
get a
like,
bit
oh,
obsessive with
yeah,
them.
I'd be like checking in on data and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that not reaching for the caffeine first thing in the morning and seeing how your body is probably the best way to think, am I tired or not? Because it's a question
Mm.
I ask every single person. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning?
Yeah,
And
same.
you should be waking up, getting out of bed and feeling okay and not be needing to reach for caffeine. That is a good assessment that you've slept well. So I think maybe waiting a little bit of time before you reach for the caffeine can maybe give you a better indicator. And maybe using those apps a bit like tracking, using them for a while and checking in on it could be
Mm-hmm.
good. Um, and then putting it aside once you've got that information. What do you think?
Yeah, similar. Like, I was very anti them for
Yeah,
a long time, and that I guess that was largely from my own experience. Like, I had an Apple Watch for a while, and I just got like really obsessed with it. But I also didn't like wearing it at
yeah,
night anyway. I was just like, I'm always like, get my jewelry off me. I feel really like irritated by it. But then like my partner's got the Whoop watch and just finds it like so helpful for her. So I think it is like a personal preference thing, because that's been like a game changer for her. And because of what her watch has told her, she has changed her sleep habits.
yeah,
So I think
yeah.
it's just a personal preference thing, I guess.
You know what I find really interesting? I'm going to do a plug here, but lots of the time when patients come in and they've got a Whoop watch on or they're wearing an Aura ring,
Yeah.
it tells them that they're asleep when they're having their
Yeah, yeah,
acupuncture.
yeah.
So you have the
Same with
same with
reflexology,
reflexology.
yeah.
And so I just think that information in itself is really empowering, isn't it? Because
Mhm,
what we're doing in a very small way is putting people into that restful state. And that is medicine in itself before we even
totally.
think about reflexology or needles. Lying there, getting your body into that deep place of rest is a very, very healing place to be. Hello, I'm quickly interrupting this episode to let you know about our big fertility walk and talk between the 11th and the 19th of October. Over the week, we will be hosting a series of walks and talks and online webinars to provide information, connection, and empowerment for wherever you are on your fertility journey. If you'd like to join us in person for a walk or online for a webinar, all the details to sign up are at the end of the show. So I mentioned it before, and we are going to do a whole episode on this, but tell me about social media. It's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. Um,
Same.
yeah, and when it comes to fertility, what do you think?
Oh, I have so many like probably almost contradicting opinions on this one. I think it can be a really helpful place to start. I think it can be a really helpful place for people to kind of suss out practitioners and be like, get a vibe for people that maybe they want to work with. I think if you're getting wholly all of your information from social media, one, you could be overwhelming yourself, but also overwhelming yourself with information that's not necessarily relevant to you.
Mm,
And I think I've seen a lot of that. Well, we talked about this recently, didn't we? Of that kind of like the flip side of people being really informed. But I've definitely seen more people recently that are like not even trying to conceive yet, and they're panicked about it. And they're like, we're going to start trying next month. And then like they're not pregnant by month 2. They're they're like genuinely so anxious about it. And I think that's the kind of where it can be then difficult, because if you have worries about that, you're seeking out a lot of like fertility related information. You're naturally going to end up seeing a lot of information and stories about infertility. And I think then that could feed into some of that anxiety. So I think that's where like either sitting down with, whether that's a practitioner or starting with one book and reading that book and working through the things that that says, rather than doing like 100 different things. And then, well, then that's where working with someone's really helpful, because then they're going to be able to help you fish out the information that's like relevant to you. Because I've definitely seen it where people have spent lots of money on testing that's like given them some kind of information, but then just the example that's at the top of my head, because I've got a client that I'm thinking of, that they're like, I don't really know where to start because of this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I think there's like a reproductive immunology thing going on there. And like, unless you know what information to seek out, what test to seek out, she could spend hundreds of pounds
yeah,
easily on tests that maybe aren't relevant to her because that's what she's seen on social media.
yeah.
And I do think it's a really tricky topic in a way, but I don't have a solid answer for it other than like it's complicated. But I think more often than not now, I think it is overwhelming people.
Yeah. And I guess a bit like what we've said in terms of sleep and tracking your cycle, it's about making an honest assessment. Is this helping
Yeah,
or is
yeah,
this not? And I've developed a new thing where if I am scrolling and something triggers me, it's because you feel it as a very bodily response. You're looking
yeah,
at something and you can feel like this negative cycle cascade happen where you'll be like cross about something or you'll think
yeah.
something is rubbish, and it will trigger those feelings of like, I don't know, a mini kind of cortisol spike or something. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, if that ever happens to me now, then I'll say, don't show me this anymore. I'll immediately
Mm,
like either unfollow
such a
the
good idea.
person or tell people to hide it, because I'm thinking this is happening on a, again, a small
Really
level multiple
bodily level.
times,
Yeah,
and you might not know about it because it can be very fleeting. It will be like in that moment you'll have that fleeting response and then it's gone, and
yeah.
so you'll move away from it. And I just think, gosh, how many times does that response happen because I've flicked on something that I didn't really want to
Oh
see?
god, yeah. I had a really dumb reel go really viral a few months ago, and it felt like an attack on my body. It was
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah,
I hated every second of it, and like I can just imagine if you're like struggling with infertility and then like you see something that like gives you that such like a visceral reaction, like it's horrible. um so I'm going to do like, this is a plug but it's not an advert for, because I won't get any money from this, but I use an app called Opal, which I like wax lyrical about because I think it's brilliant, where you set up blocks and things, and like you were saying, setting up your phone in a way that you can only get like messages after 8 p.m. So like 8 p.m. till 9:45 in the morning, my block comes on and I cannot access emails, Instagram. Like all I can see is Google Maps, messages, and like podcasts. Like that's it, because otherwise I yeah, scroll aimlessly, spend hours of my life like just looking at stuff. And sometimes you're like, sometimes you're just wanting to watch some stupid cat videos or something,
yeah,
and then you'll see something that you're like, I didn't need to see that, as I'm trying to wind down to sleep.
yeah,
And yeah, so Opal, I really really rate it, and it's one of the few apps that like you can't, when it's on your phone you can't override it. If you put it on like the hardest setting, that's it, you can't even delete the app when it's
wow,
running. Yeah,
wow. Do you
so
have to pay
it's
for it?
you do have to pay for it. It's something like, I think it's like £80 for the year.
Okay,
So
yeah,
it's not bad, and I think like I would happily pay that because I am fully addicted
yeah,
to that little dopamine hit, which
yeah,
then you don't always get. Sometimes you just get pure anxiety. So
yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's either dopamine or cortisol, and you
yeah.
never know which one it's going to be. And we
No,
obviously
it's like
dopamine.
roulette, isn't it?
Yeah. You have no control over it. And I think Carly, our fertility coach, often talks about setting up a different account. So the algorithm is not showing you fertility information, it's showing you cats or dogs or
Yeah.
jumpsuits, whatever your thing is. So that is also a helpful thing. But I think just again, taking an honest assessment of is how much it's helping you
Yeah.
can really make a big difference, because it's the small actions. I'm going to say it
100%.
again. It's the small actions that build up together.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. So nutrition was the kind of next big one that there's always conversations about.
Yeah.
What can we do to help from that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, isn't it, nutrition?
Yeah.
Because there is obviously so much that you can do to support your health through nutrition. And I guess the things that I think of is about thinking honestly about what your nutrition is like, and maybe working with a nutritionist to get that support and that information, because I would say it's good to get an expert view over your regular dietary habits so that somebody can input into whether you need more protein, more fiber. I would say most people probably need more protein and fiber as a general rule. I also think that we can think that our diet or our nutrition might be healthy, but it might not be suitable for our hormones, or it might not be suitable for a fertility diet. So things like fasting or being vegan or vegetarian. I'm not in any way judging any of those things, but they might not be the most suitable for where you're at. So, for example, if you've had your bloods done and you're iron deficient, or you've got low ferritin, or you've got issues with your folate, getting some really good nutritional support for that can make a huge difference. So I think working with somebody is really helpful if you possibly can. I think, again, there is a lot of stuff on social media about what you shouldn't or shouldn't do, and it's overwhelming, which is why working with someone can be great. I also think that you can go to the reverse of that, all of that, and get completely fanatical, and it can become all consuming about what you're putting into your body, to the degree to which that it can be making you miserable and actually more stressed. So I often, and I know you do too, Katie, work with people who are obviously trying to do everything they possibly can to give themselves the best opportunity to conceive. But what ends up happening is they are denying themselves the things that they enjoy. So the coffee or the chocolate or the glass of wine or the cake or whatever it is, there's like the restriction is so intense, and there becomes this association between not getting pregnant that month because I drank at a wedding, or not getting pregnant that month because I wasn't able to hit my macro goals, or whatever it is. And we know it is not that simple, and it's not that reductive, and we can't be that definitive between input and output when it comes to fertility. So I always think it's an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you really follow the principles of a Mediterranean diet: lots of protein, lots of vegetables, fish, fiber. And then 20% of the time, if you want to do the things that are enjoyable in life, I'm saying a good diet is enjoyable as well, but it's nice to, it is a dopamine hit to have a glass of wine with friends when you're having dinner, or to have a pudding. I loved having ice cream every single day when I was on holiday, and I just thought, why am I not going to have an ice cream on holiday? I'm in Italy, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
could
yeah.
I how could I deny myself an ice
Rude
cream?
not to.
Yeah, it would be rude not to. And so it's about being able to make those decisions in a bigger picture, the bigger sense of what your overall health looks like. Obviously, limiting alcohol or giving up alcohol if you're going through IVF is usually advised, and obviously not smoking is usually advised, but restrictive dieting or eating can be really stress provoking. So I just think it's important to actually get some support with it, because that will stand you in the best place. So talking about stress, Katie, where do we stand on stress? Because it's, again, like all of these things, it's complicated.
Yeah, it's I think it's definitely one of the really complicated topics when it comes to fertility, because sorry,
Right?
um, yeah, it's a tricky one. I think obviously doing anything you can to limit stress is going to be helpful for all sorts of reasons. And I think if you just think about it from a hormonal perspective, if your body is perceiving threat, even if consciously you know that threat is like you're trying to have a baby and that's not going to plan, like your body is perceiving that as a stress. And I'm gonna cough again, excuse me.
Mm.
Let's have a bit of tea.
Mm.
Ah, it's so annoying. It's just, when you get like a bit of like black pepper in the back of your throat.
Yes, yeah, and it just it's like a
It's just
catch.
there. It's just there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, go away.
Mm.
But no, it's fine. So yeah, so thinking about it from a hormonal perspective, if your body's like perceiving a threat, and in this circumstance, the threat would be like you're trying to have a baby, it's not going to plan, and that's creating stress. Um, it's harder for your body to, all these hormonal feedback loops that are happening, they get like interrupted somewhat. And if we can do things to help smooth that out, so to speak, then that's only going to be helpful, even if the only way you're perceiving that is through like you're not as stressed, anxious, panicked, and you're actually able to kind of like live your life a bit more beyond just work and fertility. Like I always think about this analogy of like a pie chart of like life. And if you're feeling like your pie chart has just become like 50% of its work, 50% of its fertility, or like they're the only two things on it, then we need to address that, I would say. And yeah, trying to like live your life as much as you can beyond and outside of fertility as well, because it will help you manage the process so much better. That's not to say it's not going to be stressful, but doing what we can to limit the impacts of stress, and like that's going to look different for everyone. So I think there's a bit of, again, I think like this idea of an honest assessment of how does stress show up for you? How do you feel when you're stressed? Because I think a lot of us maybe don't recognize when we're stressed because we're so accustomed to it. So are you getting headaches when you're stressed? Does your digestive system go off? Is your sleep go off? Like those kind of things, having a think about that. And then what helps you to calm down, whether that is the kind of more classic things like meditation, yoga, or is it like going for a walk, or I don't know, I can't think of other examples, but other things that will help you to kind of calm your nervous system, whatever that looks like for you. If it's drawing, cooking, going to the cinema, like having a real kind of look at what the things you enjoy are and what are the things that genuinely calm you down. Because I know then there's the argument for like when people are like, oh, but like going for a really long run helps me to calm down. And it's like, okay, but what are the kind of things that are really nourishing? Because yeah, sure, you get that runner's high after, but it could be quite depleting as well. So yeah, just having a real kind of think about nourishing activities and like trying to bring those into the everyday, even if it's just a couple of minutes, that I think is really important. So that kind of like each and every day, small incremental things you can do to help you manage your stress is, yeah, really beneficial.
Yeah. I was talking to someone recently about how do you know that you're stressed? And
Mm,
it's a
mhm,
difficult
mhm.
one, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
we do override it quite a lot, and we kind of what's the word, like push it down by keeping
like,
ourselves
yeah, suppress
busy
it, numb it.
or numb it, all of these things. So I think sometimes doing, you can do a cortisol stress test, a saliva
Mm,
stress test through the day. So if you read, I think sometimes it can be helpful, not always, but to think about testing your cortisol levels through your saliva on a day, and that will show you whether you are feeling stressed or not. Because
mm.
sometimes we have been so stressed for so long and so chronically that we don't actually know that we're stressed. We just think it's normal life.
Yeah, totally. I think, yeah, I didn't know that I was like a highly anxious person until I had done various work to understand or like to calm that down. I look now at how I felt every day and I'm like, bloody hell, I actually don't know how I lived like that because it was so extreme. But because you're so accustomed to it, it's what you know, that it's really easy to not recognize it. So I think, yeah, we should almost create a little sheet for people to go through and be like,
Yeah, there must be a questionnaire, mustn't there, about
yeah.
like signs of stress. But I guess like you've mentioned them, like the big ones are your digestion is off,
Mm,
your sleep is off, your cycle goes off, you
mm,
find that you can't relax, you get ill when you go on holiday, you can't sit still, you can't
mm,
rest, you're always keeping yourself busy. All of those things are a sign that your cortisol is on overload, your adrenaline is on overload, and it
mm.
won't let you settle down.
Or even that idea, like I know this is maybe getting into the weeds a bit more, but that idea of like low cortisol and
Yeah.
how like actually you don't have enough and that's another kind of stressor on the body. Like you're depleted from it because you're so exhausted. Like that can be another issue. But I mean that is getting into the weeds a bit. But yeah, you need cortisol. It's just that kind of fine balance, isn't it?
Yeah, finding the balance as it is always. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna just finish off quickly with this idea that I guess goes across all of the things that we've talked about, which is about making a plan. And I always talk about this when I do discovery calls with people. And people say, what happens in a treatment? And I always talk about this idea is when you work with us, you will come out with a plan. We will help you formulate a plan. So, an action plan of the things that you might want to investigate around your fertility, the tests and the investigations that you might want to do. We'll have a plan around changes that you might want to make in all the areas we've discussed. So sleep, nutrition, stress levels, social media, exercise, all of these things. There'll be like a plan and there will be a framework. So you'll be really confident that what you're doing is supporting your health as opposed to having a negative impact on it. And obviously like having a sort of check-in with people. So whether it's check-in with a friend or whether it's a check-in with a practitioner, or if you're in our community, checking in with people in there so that you feel like you're sticking to a plan and you've given your plan a time frame. So I always say, continue to try and conceive for 3 months, 6 months. And then if you get to that 6 month point, the next step is going to be this investigation, or you go to this consultant, or we investigate that, so that people feel like they have a bit more control. And so what I think that really helps do is stop the researching. So we're going back to the scrolling and the non-stop looking for information, is that you've got your plan. Your plan has covered everything that you need to know at this stage of where you're at in your journey. And it's a question of you've now created more space because you're not endlessly researching, Googling on message boards, asking questions. Your plan is unique and bespoke to you, and you can follow that plan. So then you've got space to really look after and prioritize all the things that we've discussed to support your health and general fertility. So I think a plan, you don't need to work with anyone to do it. You can do it
Mhm.
yourself. But I
Yeah.
think it is helpful to get insight from another person. So having a plan can be a real antidote to stress and those feelings of overwhelm and lack of control when it comes to all of this.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that idea of checking in with friends, people in like the community, a practitioner, there's that accountability part as well, making sure that you're sticking to those kind of things. And if you do kind of fall off the plan, so to speak, then like it doesn't matter so long as you just kind of pick back up again. Then like because you're consistently doing a little bit, that builds up so much over time. So I think, yeah, the accountability part can be incredibly um, just helpful and keep you kind of like going on the way.
Yeah. And I like we said, it creates more space so you can bring back some of the things that you enjoy, so that the
Mhm.
fertility side of things is not overwhelming every single
Yeah,
thought, decision and waking moment of your life. So
yeah, because that's just no way to live. It's not good for your brain at all.
no, no. Okay, Katie. Well, lovely to be back.
Fabulous.
It feels like, we do this every single day.
Yeah, we should. No.
So before we go, I'm just going to remind everybody that obviously we've got our community, our free Don't Tell Me to Relax community. You are very welcome to come and join us in there. There's tons of great resources, and we go into all of the areas we've discussed today in much more detail. We've got webinars, we've got handouts. All of our experts are in there if you want to ask any questions. And obviously, we've got a lovely, lovely community members who are there to cheerlead you and give you support for any areas, whether you're just starting out trying to conceive or whether you're in the trenches of IVF. There is somebody who is going through something similar, not the same, obviously, but something similar to you. So it's a great place to connect with people. And we've got our walk and talks coming up in October. So all of those details will be on the show notes. And I'll see you again soon, Katie.
See you soon.
We hope you have found this helpful. If you'd like more on fertility education, please see our Teaching to Conceive free course linked at the end of the show. You'll also find the link to join our community. For more personalised fertility support, you can work with us one-to-one in clinic and online. You can book a discovery call to find out more. We hope you have found this helpful. If you'd like more on fertility education, please see our Teaching to Conceive free course linked at the end of the show. You'll also find the link to join our community. For more personalised fertility support, you can work with us one-to-one in clinic and online. You can book a discovery call to find out more.